David Diamante, thank you very much for joining us here in Matchroom Radio HQ. Let's start with Matchroom Radio. I mean, we have quite a few topics to go over, but I want to start with this. How did this come about, and how did you find yourself in this chair?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun. I guess Matchroom, wanted to do a podcast, and they wanted me to host it, so they asked if I would do that, and I obliged. It's really that simple. It's been a lot of fun. We have so many great guests on. We just did, obviously, Chris Eubank Jr. and Roy Jones Jr., so we did Junior and Junior. Obviously, he'll be fighting this weekend. But we've had a ton of great people, everyone from Canelo to Joseph Parker to, Ben Davison, Ricky Hatton, tons of different people. Campbell Hatton, as you said that you guys have worked with him before. Mm-hmm. A lot of great people on the podcast, so it's just been a lot of fun. Having a good time with it.
Can I ask you which guests have been your favourite to bounce off? Do you have favourites, or is each one different?
There was one guy I just loved, Bones Adams, man. He's one of my favourites. I just love Bones, because he's led such a life. And you know who else was just amazed? Everyone's great, but Tony Sims. I love Tony Sims.
Okay.
I just love Tony Sims. He was on Joe Cordina, the Welsh Wizard. They're both great. Tony is he's got a lot of stories, man. He's a real humble cat. So you'll never see him kind of being a blowhard, but he really has a heck of a story to tell. Really great guy.
I want to speak to you a little bit about you, what you've emerged hugely on the scene. I know you've been on the scene for a while, but in recent years we see you take much more of a centre stage. We're seeing you on the big shows. Just tell us a little bit about your background, where you've come from.
That's
starting from day one, if you would.
If you know me, there's a long story there, but there's a saying: you worked 20 years to become an overnight success. So I've been doing this a long time. Just the elevator, the short pitch here is just basically I used to do a bit of fighting, and I knew I wasn't going to be a fighter. It's not what I wanted to do. I loved the announcers, had a background in entertainment. As a musician, as a DJ, in radio also, so I've done all kinds of different stuff, and I started announcing really just for fun. It was a hobby, something I loved, and it has grown into this after 20 years. So it's been great, and obviously I was an NBA announcer for 6 years. I had a TV show on NBC called The Lights that I hosted. So I've done a lot of different stuff in the media and before, but boxing is really my passion. It's one of my huge passions. I have several passions actually, but boxing is a big one. And also another big passion of mine is world travel. So combining these two, I think we're doing stuff now with Matchroom Boxing that's really never been done in the sport. I don't think we've ever seen schedules like what we're doing. In the past 3-4 years, I can't even start to tell you all the cities that we've been to and all the countries, but just recently, it's just
Uzbekistan. It was a few weeks ago.
Uzbekistan, Gibraltar, Italy, Spain, London. Right after this, I'm headed to Dallas, and I'm headed right back here to England, and I'm headed right back to Vegas, and I'm headed right back here. It's just how we're doing it. It's every week we're in a different city. It's been really wonderful.
Boxing is a sport built up on personalities. If you don't mind me saying, your energy, your personality, it feeds through. You have your own stamp of authority, if that's the right way of putting it. Did it cross your mind? Michael Buffer is someone I've spoken to on a number of occasions at a number of different shows. Do you look at Michael as inspiration? Have you spoken with Michael? What's your thoughts been on his career?
Well, I appreciate that, Chris, what you said about me. Michael and I are very close. I've known Michael for a long, long time. We've worked together for a long, long time, and we're close friends. We text each other. We've hung out quite a lot. We've worked together for a long time. We've traveled the world together on these shows. I don't see how anyone can, just think he's an amazing guy. He's an amazing career, an amazing guy, and an amazing talent. He's just a wonderful guy, and being around Michael has been a great thing. But at the same time, I think it's important to have your own identity and your own stamp. And so I don't live in Michael's shadow like that. And I don't, the only thing, I've always said this about Michael, the thing that I try to emulate from him is his professionalism, but not his style, not anything about him. I love what he does, but I do things in a different way. And I think he's great, and I think I'm great too, not to be whatever, but I think my style is impetuous, as a famous fighter once said. So yeah, Michael's great. We're very close friends.
I think it's a fair point. I think especially with the role that you guys play, you encapsulate when you get together with a few buddies, a few beers because the big fight's on the telly, you know, and it's part of the show. And one thing I wanted to ask you about is Michael's signature, if you like, was the let's get ready to rumble. Yours is the fight starts now. How easy is it coming up? Because I imagine some planning went into it. You probably had 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe more little lines written down, and you have to perfect the way you say it. You've got to make sure it's consistent. Did you have that short list? How easy was it coming up with that signature?
It kind of happens organically. I mean, it's like one of those things. It's not that deep. It's like, you know, like when I say it, I get hyped because it's like,
yeah.
You know, as a fight fan, I mean, fighting is a really like, it's the most base kind of sport there is. There's no ball. The ball is your head. Yeah. You understand? I mean, the object of the game is to render your opponent unconscious. That's serious. Mm-hmm. That's not a game.
You don't play boxing.
You don't play boxing. And so, you know, you got to be a little bit crazy to do it, and you got to be a little bit crazy to love it.
Yeah.
And I think we all are. But it's a wonderful, wonderful sport. I believe it's a sport of kings. I believe it's the best sport in the world. And when it's that time, you know, we've waited, like you said, boxing is a sport of personalities, right? And so when we've waited for these, when you know the stories and the trajectories of these men and women's lives, what they go through and what these fights mean and what's literally on the line, even their health, it's just so major. And so it's just, the fight starts now. It just gets...
Apologies.
Part 2 of the interview that Chris's card ran out.
You put me on the spot. I was getting hyped. Luckily we caught it. Just as you said, the fight starts now. I thought, Jesus, next time I hear that, you know, it's going to be live to millions of people. We did a watch back with Campbell Hatton recently, where he watched his fight back with his trainer Matthew, and Campbell's a young talent who has the world at his feet. I think that's the right saying, or the world in his hands. You know, he could be at the beginning of an incredible journey. So I thought it was quite good for him to watch back his first fight, sure. Pick out what was good, what wasn't so good, the experience, the emotion, seeing the shots of his dad's face, pulling his mask up, you know, as he walked down the ring. And one bit he caught, and it was so nice because the thing with Campbell is he's a young lad. Yeah. So the way he speaks is the way a young lad speaks, who's obviously excited and buzzing and everything else. And when he was walking to the ring and you said, Campbell, Hatton, he goes, he said my name twice. You know you've made it when he says your name twice. And I just thought, that is, if me personally or anyone watching that piece of content didn't understand, that's one of David's stamps, if you like. That's something he's brought. They do now, because now it's seeping into the culture of boxing. When boxers like Campbell, who in 10 years we could be talking about a world champion. You know, I know Chris was saying before he's got a lot to do to get there, but when he says something like that, I don't know if you saw that piece, but if you did, how does it make you feel hearing it?
Yeah, no, it's very humbling. And no, I feel very honored that he would say that, and that he feels that way. It's great, you know. Again, if you watch me do fights 20 years ago in the amateurs, the kids in the Bronx in the street, that's how I did it. It's always been my style.
Yeah.
So it's just been the style that I did it, and I love that it's like picking up steam. I think it's pretty cool. I never really thought about it as such a big deal. It's just the way I did it. Mm. And you know, I come from New York, so they said in New York, the city's so nice they named it twice. So I like to say the names twice, and it's just one of those things. And Johnny Addy, the great ring announcer, did it, and Ed Darien and Mark Bureau, and even Bob Shepard from the Yankees. You know, he used to say, "Coming to the plate,
batting the shortstop. Number 2, Derek Jeter. Number 2. You know, so it's just one of those New York things, and that's been my style.
Yeah.
So I love that it's seeping into the culture, especially here in the UK.
Yeah, that's. I want to come back to this kind of energy really quickly, because I sat in for your piece with Chris and Roy. People who haven't listened to it yet should go and do so. They're in for a treat. But one thing I love about that piece and other things of yours that I've seen, and I go back to your energy, is we see loads of interviews with high-profile interviewers all the way through to new-level YouTubers, people who are coming through from world champion boxers down to grassroots. And so often these interviews are insightful, and I don't want to be disrespectful, but they're quite up and down. How was camp? Diet going well? What do you think of the opponent? You know, whereas with you bounce off the person. You know, you feel. I saw Roy bringing some energy, telling stories that from back in the day, and you were moving in the chair because it was. I could just feel the energy from, and that's what you bring to the table. And I think you're in the game now for a long time, and it sounds like you're buzzing to be there.
I appreciate that. Yeah, no, I don't overlook what I do. I love where I am. I mean, I am living the dream. You know, don't get it twisted. It's a lot of hard work.
Oh, of course.
It's a lot of hard work. Everyone likes to see the bright lights, and I appreciate that we make it look easy, but there's a lot of work that goes into it, and that's in anything. But I love the work because I love what I do. You know, and I love Roy. I mean, I've known Roy for years. We've been through a lot of stuff, and I've known him and text him different times. Yo, go eat at this steakhouse in Nebraska. Like, you got to check this. You know what I mean? Different things. We were in a movie together. Yeah, I mean, so boxing's really like my family. You know, it's like my second family. So I love the hard work because it's just stuff that I love to do. But I appreciate that because it's not about a paycheck. I mean, look, I want to get paid like everybody, right? Like we said in that podcast, if it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. Got to get paid, but I love what I do. And if I don't enjoy what I'm doing, it doesn't matter how much I'm making, I will not do it. So I'm glad that comes through.
I got two more points for you, 2 more questions, 2 more points of interest, topics. Sure. The hair is cool. Let me ask you, how long has it taken, and what was it before?
Well, I haven't cut my hair since 1988, so it's been 33 years. And I had a shaved head before that. I had a shaved head. So it literally went from bald, not bald, but like, you know, very, very short to this. And it was a spiritual change in my life. I'll just say that. You know, there was a big change in my life. And I didn't want to cut my hair anymore. So and that was it.
So without forcing that conversation, did you know I'm just going to let it grow and grow and grow and grow? I'm never going to cut it again. Or was it a case of it got to a certain point and then you wanted to try it out, or did you know once you had that last cut, if you like, did you know, right, that's it, no more cuts?
No, I don't, and that's not how I feel now. I might cut it tomorrow. I mean, I don't future trip. I don't look into the future like that. It's about right now. I live in the moment.
Yeah.
And I go with what feels correct here. The moment it doesn't feel right is the moment I'll cut it. But it feels right now. Yeah. And, you know, locks have such a deep history, way more than Rastafarianism. You know, they go back to many, many cultures over thousands of years, back to the Bible, to Samson. But that's not, you know, to me, it felt right to not cut my hair, and I haven't cut it since.
Fair play. Final one. When I was just starting out, so tiny bit of background on myself, how I ended up here in this room. I left university 2010 with the ambition of being in the biggest rock band in the world. That was why I wanted. We got a deal. We were.
What do you play?
I play lead guitar. We did some stuff with a band called Ocean Colour Scene. Found ourselves hanging with people like Slash at certain times, Guns N' Roses and various other bands. We did some cool stuff. That's how I got a job in radio. Moved to social media. goes into sports, end up here. One of the first boxing events I worked with, I got speaking with Michael Buffer, who we brought up before, and I said, "Can I grab you for an interview?" He says, "Yeah." And we had this great chat, and I said to him, "Just finally, who are you picking for this weekend?" And he said, I don't do that. Don't get involved in that, that's not my area." And as soon as he said it, I thought, yeah, that makes sense. I see that. Are you of the same viewpoint?
I think that when I'm announcing a fight, it's not good to say who I think is going to win. I have definite opinions. Obviously, many people consider me an expert in the sport. So, I mean, I obviously know the sport pretty well. So but I don't like to do that either. It's not really my thing. But I will say when I think, it's a very interesting fight. And if we're talking about the top of the bill, I think there are a lot of nice fights on this card. I mean, especially, I really like the Tasha Jonas, Katie Taylor fight. I think it's very interesting. I'm interested to see what Sweet Eminem brings, Marcus Morrison brings to the Chris Eubank Jr. fight. I'm even interested to see, what Spider brings, Craig Richards brings to the Bivol fight. It's going to be interesting. It's an interesting weekend, and the Chisora Parker fight is also an interesting scrap. But yeah.
Yeah, a lot of cool fights. Listen, I've taken up more of your time than I think I promised. But David, it's been wonderful meeting you, wonderful having a good chat, and hopefully we see a lot more of each other down the line. We certainly will this week in the bubble.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.